In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at creating simple animations using stories in Stingray. Alright, so we have our health pickup, and it's just kind of floating there in space, and it could be a little bit easy to miss. So a way for us to coax the player into investigating what that floating thing is, we can add an animation. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and select the tuna can, and then I'm going to go up to Window and open the Story Editor. Let's go ahead and dock the Story Editor right below the level viewport and above the Asset Browser. So with that docked there, what we can do is we can come in and add a new story. Now if I have an object selected in my scene and I add a new story, it will automatically create what's called a unit track to the story. So let's go ahead and add a new story, and you'll see that it creates a name for the story, and it added our tuna can as a unit track. Now a unit track is going to hold the transform information of our unit. So if we expand that, we can see the position X, Y, and Z, rotation X, Y, and Z, and scale X, Y, and Z. We can animate any one of these channels. So to get started, let's select our tuna can. And actually, you know what? Let's select our position Z track, because I only want to create keys on this track. If I were to select the root transform and begin adding keys, it would add all of the keys to all of these different tracks. So let's keep it minimal. So with the position Z, let's go ahead and say add key. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to the frame 1 or 1 second here. And let's simply move this down, and you'll see that it creates a key automatically. That's because we have auto key turned on. Then let's go to frame 2 and add a key. Now I want to get the exact same position or value from frame 0 to frame 2. So let's select the key on frame 0 and let's copy this value. So hit Control C. And then let's go to this value, or this key, and paste in the value. So now what we'll have is an animation of our tuna can going from a high position to low, and then back to the original position. Perfect. So now if I hit play, I can preview that, see what that looks like, but then you'll notice it stops. That's because the timeline is continuing to go on through, and it's going to go until it reaches 10 seconds. So what we need to do is we need to limit the timeline. Let's grab the slider here on the edge and let's pull this down to 2. So now whenever we hit play, it will only play from 0 to 2 seconds. So there we go. We've got a simple animation on our tuna can. So with that, what we would want to do is we would want to also take a look at the movement of that tuna can, because I'm looking at it and it seems like it's hanging just a little bit at that very low point. So let's open up the curve editor. With the curve editor, you can see each keyframe, you can see the curve of the animation, and then you can also look at the handles or tangents that are on the selected keyframes. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at this bottom keyframe. You can see that the handle is kind of pointed upward, and so what it's doing is it's getting there very quickly, but then it's a little slow to get back up. So I want it to be nice and smooth. So with that selected, I'm going to go ahead and flatten it out. Let's make sure that we do the same thing for the top, and you'll see that those are already flattened, so we don't need to change anything. Now you can select multiple keys at the same time and you can change their preset. So let's say that I wanted to make it a constant animation, so it raises up and down at a very constant rate. We could do that. I could also set it to step and make it go from one height to the other without any in between. Let's go ahead and switch it back to smooth, and then let's make sure that each one is flattened out. There we go. So now that that is finished, let's go ahead and stop the animation and let's turn off live. What that will do is it will stop any recording, and any changes that we make will not be added to that timeline. So whenever we created the story, you'll notice that it created the name story. this is going to be important because we need to get this to play whenever the level is loaded. So let's go ahead and hit play on our test level. And you'll notice something. When we come up to the tuna can, you'll notice it's not playing that animation. We need to tell it to play that animation through our level flow script. So if we go to level flow, you'll see that we have everything as it should be, but we need to add the level story. Let's go ahead and type, or hit the tab key and type in story. And let's make sure that we're getting it spelled correctly. And there's level story. That will also be under your menu under level and level story. Now with the level story, what we want to do is we want it to play whenever the level is loaded. Then we can go through our input options here. If we want it to play at a certain time, or we want to modify the speed, we can do that, but I don't want to. I only want it to loop back and forth as it's finished playing. So we're just going to set that to loop. And then we also need to set up the story that it's going to be using, as you can see right here. Right now it's just a story. We don't have anything input. But if I click on that, it will bring up anything that's available. So here is the original name that was created, as it's right here. So you'll see story and then the name. So with that, we can go ahead and play our level. And we'll now see the tuna can hovering up and down. And now it draws the eye of the player, letting us know that we can interact with that tuna can. And ultimately, whenever we touch it, it will go ahead and up our max health. So now that we've learned how to collect items, how to run into those, and how to animate them, let's talk about adding audio to that item. So whenever we hit it, let's make it make a sound or something like that.